to today's episode of So, What's the Catch? James, Bryan, the wildcard Churk Bezerk, and myself love doing this show every Wednesday. It gives us an opportunity to get together and discuss a wide variety of topics from across the sports world, whether that's from the National Football League, Major League Baseball, or the National Basketball Association. Occasionally we throw in topics from other sports such as the National Hockey League, Ultimate Fighting Championship, college sports, and auto racing. But mostly we focus on the NFL, MLB, and NBA. Before we get into today's episode, if you haven't done so already, make sure you punch that subscribe button on the So What's the Catch YouTube channel and the Unger to the Max YouTube channel. We post every episode of So What's the Catch on both channels. That way you, the viewer, and you, the subscriber, have more outlets to watch each episode. Like I said, we love doing this show. It gives us an opportunity to get on here, talk about a wide variety of topics from across the sports world, and sometimes it creates a heated discussion. You could even categorize it as a debate. But it's all in good fun, and we love this show. So join us as we go on this journey to make So What's the Catch into something big and awesome and spectacular. Insert word here. So with all that being said, welcome to today's episode of So What's the Catch? Thank you for tuning in. Welcome to this week's episode of So What's the Catch? Before we get into it, make sure if you haven't done so already, punch that subscribe button like a UFC fighter and subscribe to the So What's the Catch YouTube channel today. But let's get down to the nuts and bolts of this thing, because we've had some bombshells over the past couple of days. The latest bombshell being just a couple minutes before we actually went live here on the So What's the Catch Facebook page. Baker Mayfield has been traded to the Carolina Panthers. And what's the correlation in all of this? Guess who we play week 1 down in Charlotte at Bank of America Stadium? The Carolina Panthers.
Hey, I give you all the credit in the world. You predicted this one.
I did?
Or was that you, James? Someone predicted it.
I have no idea. It doesn't matter, but
Someone predicted that Baker was going to go to the Panthers.
I have no idea. But here's the deal. A lot of people are jumping the gun here and just assuming he's going to be their starter over Sam Darnold. As Peter Schrager just pointed out on Twitter, that locker room still thinks of Sam Darnold very highly. Mm-hmm. So which means that Baker's going to have to beat him out for the starting job. And let's be real here. Like, they essentially are trading one kind of bad for a different kind of bad in Baker and Darnold. They're both bad, but for different reasons.
Yeah, 100%.
And I don't think Baker's going to like being in a quarterback competition. He thinks he's so good that he deserves to be handed the keys to the castle. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that that's going to happen in Carolina. I think James is 100% correct. So it's going to be interesting to see how this thing shakes out. But, yeah, I mean, we didn't have to give up much.
No, he's got $8 million salary. He's taken a $3.5 million salary cut. The Panthers are paying $5 million. They get a conditional 5th rounder that might be turned into a 4th rounder based on playing time. Mm-hmm. Like, they traded him for basically like a bag of footballs. Okay.
Yeah, basically.
It's like when the Cavs made that trade to get Andre Drummond. We basically got Andre Drummond for a ham sandwich. That's basically what the Panthers did here. They got Baker Mayfield.
I would say Brandon Knight's more valuable than Baker Mayfield, but, you know.
There's a good argument for that. There's a real good argument for that, James.
But let me ask you guys this. If you're the Panthers, I know because everyone's already jumped the gun and started, doing this ridiculousness of doing the Baker to Higgins connection. Okay.
Yes.
Let me ask you this.
Oh, good God.
If you're the Panthers, if you're Matt Rule, which connection would you rather be interested in? Baker Mayfield to Rashard Higgins or Sam Darnold to Robbie Anderson? Because I'd be interested in Sam Darnold to Robbie Anderson.
I will agree with you on that.
Yeah, Sam Darnold to Robbie Anderson, 100%.
Yeah, and we know Robbie Anderson was not too thrilled about the rumors of Baker Mayfield coming to town earlier in the year. So he kind of made it clear that, like, that's not his guy. So I firmly expect Robbie Anderson to be in the Sam Darnold camp right now. And James is 100% correct. Like those two are a way, more talented combo than Baker and Hollywood Higgins. Can't believe.
Come on, man. What about the touchdown celebration?
He sucks, Churk.
Okay.
You didn't like the Hollywood celebration?
We're not even going to address this. Let's stay on the Baker Mayfield trade because he is out of the quarterback room for the Browns, which means we are all in on. I can't say we're all in on Deshaun Watson because we don't know, one, if he's going to be suspended, two, how long he will be suspended, if indeed that suspension comes to fruition.
I think they said indefinitely for him.
The Browns are already are all in on their quarterback room. If you look at their quarterback room, they're all very similar players. Okay, the one guy that was the odd man out was Baker Mayfield. He was never a part of the equation. No matter how many times people tried to say the Browns can play Baker Mayfield if Deshaun Watson, it was never going to happen.
Yeah.
Okay?
As soon as they brought in Josh Dobbs and had even another option behind Watson and Brissett, like that really sent the message. Like, no, we'd rather have a less talented guy in Josh Dobbs that fits our system than go with Baker Mayfield because he doesn't fit what the Browns' plans are for the future.
He doesn't.
Yeah, the writing was on the wall.
I still think it's pretty pathetic that Baker Mayfield was the number one pick just a couple years ago, and the Browns trade him, and all they get is a 5th-round pick. It's
because they botched the pick. Okay,
yeah.
They botched the pick, and this is what happens when you make a mistake.
Yeah, this is by subtraction too. The Browns won this trade.
They did because we don't got to hear anymore Baker Mayfield crap every single day.
Yep, the Browns won this trade. He's not a guaranteed starter in Carolina. You bring in a guy who's questionable in terms of locker room and leadership and all that. The drama and circus that surrounds him. I think that we won this trade. I think that at the end of the day, we wanted desperately to get rid of him. The fact that we could get anything in return for him, to me, is a victory. So,
right, I understand. Yeah, I totally agree with you, Brian. I just think it's hilarious that he was the number one pick, and all you get is a 5th-round pick for him now. That's all.
So let's look at the situation in Carolina for Baker. Let's pretend Baker wins the starting job for a second, okay? Okay, because I think the word pretend is the key word here.
Yeah, we have to there.
Here's something. There's a couple things you got to consider here. One, massive step back coaching wise. Matt Rule is a bum. He is not a good coach. Okay, this is a move of complete desperation by the Panthers. Matt Rule knows his job is on the hot seat. He knows that he has no job security beyond this season. If he doesn't do something and show some sort of ability to be productive in any way, he's done.
Yep.
That's what this is. So you look at the coaching wise, Kevin Stefanski is a significantly better coach than Matt Rule is. Okay. I don't think that's debatable. Okay.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
Look at the skill positions. The skill positions for the Panthers. Are they better than Cleveland? No, they're not.
Outside of Christian McCaffrey when he's healthy, but when he's never healthy. So outside.
Let me ask you this: would you rather have Christian McCaffrey or Nick Chubb?
Nick Chubb all day, every day,
Nick
right?
Chubb.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would take either personally.
But I would say that McCaffrey is outside of Nick Chubb, like he's
injury prone.
He's probably the best athlete out of the group.
So you look at the skill position players. Let's just compare it to last year's Browns team. Last time that Baker even played.
Sure.
Okay, are you going to tell me that the combination of DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson, and Terrence Marshall Jr. is better than Odell Beckham, Jarvis Landry, and whoever they had at the third spot?
Yeah.
Are you going to tell me that Ian Thomas, who, by the way, who the fuck is Ian Thomas?
Sounds like a goat.
Is better than Austin Hooper or even David Njoku or Harrison Bryant?
Right.
Yeah.
And that's saying something because
Tommy Tremble. Don't forget about old Tommy Tremble.
Who is that? Who is that?
Tommy Tremble is starting tight end right now.
Scott Player.
Thomas being questionable.
Remember him, James?
Yeah. But let me just touch on something. The fact that you said David Njoku is better than Ian Thomas, considering how we all feel about David Njoku, or 3 out of the 4 of us, that's saying something.
Well, yeah, I mean, you look at his numbers last year. He didn't have a single touchdown, and he only had 18 catches. So, I mean, he's not good. He's not productive.
Right, I know, but we all
that's why I expect Tommy Tremble probably to be that starting tight end. He had more catches last year and seems to have more upside to me. He at least scored a touchdown for them.
Yeah.
He had one. He had one.
The one thing I will say, I feel like the Browns have a better running back duo than Carolina by far, or trio, I guess, because you could throw Dearness Johnson in there.
Now, how would
here's my only question: is McCaffrey a better pass catching running back than that trio?
Yes,
sure, he's a better pass catching guy.
He got the first 1,000 yards in receiving since Marshall Faulk.
Yeah,
I mean, sure, pass catching, but you're not looking. At least the Browns' offense isn't looking for massive pass catching production out of their running backs.
Right.
That's not the way their offense is necessarily built. So yeah, sure, Christian McCaffrey, he can do a lot of things. He can split out wide. He can catch passes out of the backfield. But like we've seen Baker with wide or running backs out wide, he's terrible. He's a disaster.
Yep.
Like. Are we just going to forget that Baker Mayfield's still too short, that he still can't read post-snap, that he still can't see over his offensive lineman? None of this has changed just because he's changing where he's playing. All of this still applies.
And his ego on top of it.
Yeah.
He thinks he's one of the best, and I hate to break it to him. I mean, he's good, but he's not
good. No, just you can stop with that. He's not good.
Yeah,
even that bum Carson Wentz got more in return than Baker Mayfield did. Okay.
Yep.
Carson Wentz fucking sucks.
And had ankles broken in
Carson Wentz is terrible.
Wentz is bad, and he's got as much of an injury history, if not more, than Baker. And they got way more for him.
Injury history. Yeah. But I don't think Carson Wentz is a bad quarterback.
He's bad. He's not good.
No,
he's bad, Churk.
But who do you think is bad though? Like I've never really heard you say something.
Yeah, come on. Give me a list of quarterbacks or players, just players you think is bad. Because I
want to hear this list.
Yeah, name a bad player in the NFL.
I mean, you made it to the NFL, but yeah, a bad player.
Okay, just because you made it doesn't mean you're good. Sure, you're better than 99% of football players in the world currently, but you can still suck in the NFL.
Right. It's the big show,
Doug Peterson.
Okay, how about an active one?
Yeah.
Not a coach.
An active player that is bad?
Yes.
You see our point now?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you see our point.
Like
you think everybody's good.
Carson Wentz isn't good. Don't get tricked by his touchdown to interception ratio. Everybody did with that Baker a year before. Okay, right. Numbers can lie, film cannot.
Right.
Film says they're terrible.
And Bryan,
Baker's always throwing between the hash marks too. He's always throwing between the hashes into tight ends and whatnot. So he's taking those low risk, throws more often than
I think David Mills is bad.
Okay, there you go. There you go. There we go. Yes, come on. Clap. Okay. Clap.
He actually, he has no business being a starter at all.
There we go.
About time.
And boom. And Bryan, on your point, just
Ben Roethlisberger currently.
Well, he's retired, so he's
Bryan,
not playing anymore.
To quickly circle back to Carson Wentz, like you said, he's injury prone, and he's going to probably the worst field in the NFL to play on. He's probably going to get injured in week 1 playing on that field.
Yeah, and I think if something happens and Baker has to be the starter, I think he's going to get McCaffrey lit up because he's not good at those little passes to like the out routes and the wheel routes and stuff that they like to run with him. Like he's not good at those routes. Like he can't throw those balls with touch. Like he's going to get him lit up because he's not going to be putting the ball in good placement. And we've seen with Christian McCaffrey what happens when, you make him vulnerable. He gets hurt.
Yeah.
We've seen Baker put his receivers in positions to get hurt before. Okay. Yeah. So this isn't something new. Okay,
Right.
he has the tendency to miss receivers. He has a tendency to throw high. Do you remember during his second year? I think it was very early in the season. He threw really high to Njoku. It resulted in him breaking his hand or his wrist, or whatever the hell it was.
That's right. Yeah, that was a bad injury on Njoku, and that was all on Baker. He left him. He laid him out to dry basically with that pass.
That happens all the time.
Yep.
And real quick side note, by the way. The complete mismanagement of the Panthers over the past couple of years is absolutely hilarious. This is a draft pick that they've sent away for a quarterback room consisting of Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield, and Matt Corral. A second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth. And they've ended up with this quarterback room.
Yeah. Good Lord.
That's a dumpster fire.
Garbage.
That's absolute.
That sounds just as bad as the 0-16 season.
The 0-16 season, the Browns at least had draft picks.
Yeah.
The Panthers. I mean, what is this?
Yeah.
I mean, this is
it's really bad, and they finished bad last year too. They were fourth in the NFC South. Like they are not in a good spot. And bringing in Baker Mayfield of all people it's not the answer. James, you already touched on Rule not being the best head coach. Like this is just not a good football team. Like it's a good team to open up our season against. To be fair,
I'm surprised Christian McCaffrey hasn't requested a trade out of Carolina yet.
I actually do.
He have to leverage with his injuries and whatnot. You know what I mean?
Maybe he's just a loyal dude.
Nobody wants to take on that contract.
Exactly.
He's a running back who's gotten hurt and he's owed a lot of money. Yeah. Nobody wants that.
Smartest thing for him to do is just stay and take the max money he can get from them until his career's over. Because running backs have short careers, and a guy that's hurt as often as him, he's not going to make it until he's 34, 35, like a Frank Gore.
Yep.
Any sort of trade that would involve McCaffrey would involve him taking a significant salary reduction.
Yep.
And a restructure. And why the hell would you do that when you can just do what you're doing and get paid a fuck ton of money?
Right. I agree.
Yeah, but
outside of him like wanting to ring chase, like if he has a really burning desire to win a championship before he retires, like that's the only real situation I could see him leaving. Him just being like, okay, one final run, let's make a shot at this thing. But like outside of that, I think he's going to stay put and just take as much money as he can get there.
Yeah. Play out the contract, and if you really want to ring chase at the end of your career for 1-year deals for a couple $1 million, okay?
Yep.
That's all he's got to do.
Yep. Call it your retirement season. Get all the flowers at every stadium for the rest of the.
I think he's got potential to be a Hall of Famer.
No, he does not have potential to be a Hall of Famer. Not anymore.
Nope.
You sure?
Not anymore. He got hurt too much.
Yeah, way too much.
Lost too much time.
I still got faith in him getting back up in injuries.
He's missed way too much time.
Yeah, he's not getting any younger either.
No.
Just turned 26.
Yeah, I'm telling you guys, looking at the first 4 weeks of the season, the Browns can start the season 4-0, even if Deshaun Watson is not able to play due to suspension or whatever. And Jacoby Brissett is the starting quarterback. You got Panthers, Jets, Steelers, Falcons. 4 very winnable games.
I agree with you there. The Steelers at home is the one there that I'm not really quite sure what to think of the Steelers yet, because they could go either way.
Yeah.
Right.
Quarterback situation it's a big question mark. We're not going to know until they play. But I still think that the Steelers have a really good team, and they've obviously had our number for a majority of the past couple decades. So I think that that's still a very losable game for the Browns without Deshaun Watson starting.
That's a fair assessment. And the Atlanta game could actually be tricky because let's say we beat the Steelers in week 3, the Browns could be very high emotionally, and then you had to play like a lesser opponent in Atlanta. So maybe the Browns play down to the Falcons or however you say it, if that makes sense.
I'm not even going to worry about schedule speculation until we're like week 3 into preseason, because by then you'll know how the team is put together. We should have an idea of who the quarterback's going to be. And then any injuries that any of the teams have, we're going to have a better idea of. And so you're going to have a much clearer picture of how things are going to go.
They got some weapons though on the offensive side of the ball, some young talent. They've had some really high draft picks over the past couple of years, and they've got some people that can threaten. It's just going to come down to that quarterback position and how well they can play. But they got Drake London in there now. They have Kyle Pitts in there. I think both those guys are going to be really good for a really long time.
Yeah, except Calvin Ridley suspended for the year. So who's Marcus Mariota going to throw to as his primary target?
Who cares? He sucks too.
Yeah, Mariota, poor guy. Yeah, I don't know. I wonder who his money's on for starting.
I don't know. Were you guys ever high on Mariota? I was never high on him.
I thought he was like for the first
couple
couple
Oregon,
seasons,
I wasn't high on him.
For the first couple seasons, I thought he was going to be good. Like especially when I saw that. Remember that highlight when he like ran 100 yards for a touchdown?
I mean, cool, but like, do something with your arm.
Yeah, it's a quarterback. Want to see something with the arm? See a little arm talent there.
His first couple seasons, I had potential, but after that, not really.
I was never big on him coming out of college. I'm like, this guy's not going to be good.
I'm never big on Oregon quarterbacks in general, just because of the system and the nature of the way that they play. It's very hard to get a read on guys coming out of Oregon. But no, I was never that high on him when he was there. I've never been that high on him, period. So I think he's a good backup. Like, I think he's a good quality backup in this league. But other than that, I don't see him as like a starting caliber, one of the best 32 in the league.
Yeah.
Ritter's gonna be on his heels like all training camp. I bet there's a competition there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would agree. So,
but yeah, we might be looking at playing against a rookie quarterback in 2 games in a row there with Pittsburgh and Atlanta.
Yep, and we could be looking at playing our former quarterback in week 1 and a second-year quarterback in week 2.
Oh,
I would love so much to play against Bakers. That dude's going to do nothing but throw picks.
Yep. I hope he plays so bad. I would love to see Myles Garrett get like 8 sacks.
And Denzel Ward to get like
pick 6, like 2 or 3
passes.
Are you going to tell me all those guys in that defense that had to watch Baker Mayfield completely sputter out over and over again last year wouldn't love to take their frustration out and be like, motherfucker, we stopped this offense and give you a chance to do something, and you threw a goddamn pick. Like, it's time to embrace Sarn Tim Misney and make you pay.
Yes. Make him pay. I 100% agree with you, James. Yeah, I hope to God that he starts week 1. It's a great storyline. And all this talk about like, well, what happens if Baker goes somewhere and he does really well and then suspended for a whole year? Like, no, it's not going to happen. You live in a fantasy world. Baker Mayfield is a trash quarterback, and he should honestly be a backup somewhere. I don't think he's ever going to be a starter anywhere.
On one hand, I would love to see the Browns kick his head in week 1. Okay.
Yeah.
Just because it's just like, you're a bum, and I want your former team to show you that you're a bum. Yep. On the other, I want to see him lose the quarterback job just so I can sit back and laugh and laugh and laugh and watch him ride the bench.
Yeah.
Yeah. So either way, week 1's going to be a win-win for us, basically.
I think so.
Like, let's put it this way. Even if, let's say, the Panthers win in week 1, let's put that out there. This isn't going to be some magnificent, triumphant revenge tour for the Panthers or Baker. It doesn't mean shit.
Right.
Like, cool, you won a game. Like,
either way, I agree with you.
One thing, it is a little bit of a trap game. If we go into that game and Baker's the starter, and for whatever reason, who knows, Jacoby doesn't feel right, and Josh Dobbs ends up starting week 1 or something like that, like, it'll get so overblown. I really hope that doesn't happen, but I don't know. It seems like a long shot for something like that to happen to me. I really anticipate that it's not going to be Baker starting this game. I don't think that they want to put him in that kind of position in his very first start for the team anyway. You know what I mean? Like, they want him to be successful there. Matt Rule's job depends on that quarterback situation working out, regardless of who he goes with.
Yeah.
So do you want to bring in a guy and put him, against the team that he has this much vitriol and history against? Like, I don't see them, like, even if they think he is the guy, I could still see them waiting until week 2 or 3 to put him in at starter.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. I don't know.
Yeah, that totally makes sense, Brian. I get it. The two situations are not anywhere near similar, but it's kind of like with Russell Wilson going back to Seattle right away in week 1. I get it. There's not that same level of venom and animosity and all that, but it's like you're playing your former team right away. Like, there's going to be extra motivation there.
Yeah, and it's week 1. You know, everybody's excited. Football's back. Like, all of these games get incredible viewership ratings. Like, it'll be the lead story on ESPN, Baker Mayfield. Still, somehow, with all the great players in the NFL, if Baker Mayfield is listed as starter week 1 for Carolina, he'll be the lead topic on First Take, I'm sure. But yeah, I don't know. I'm just happy that he's gone, and we don't have to deal with the speculation that maybe he ends up while Watson's injured. It's the best thing for Baker. It's the best thing for the Browns. It's like,
how many times did you hear that?
A million.
Multiple times a day.
Multiple times a day. I had to mute certain topics on Twitter to avoid.
Yeah, my family was talking about that one too.
And for what it's worth, I don't care that Baker Mayfield actually landed somewhere else. The dude's still fucking Millhouse. He's Millhouse. Nobody wants him.
Nobody wants him.
Nobody wants him.
But the Panthers wanted him.
Barely. I mean, they didn't have to give up the house.
You give up nothing for him.
Right. Like, this was just like they needed a guy, and there's a guy that's really, cheap for us.
Yeah.
They really didn't give up much of anything of substance. So.
And also, think about this, Churk. If the Panthers really and truly desperately wanted him, they would have made this trade with us earlier in the season. They wouldn't have done it this close to training camp.
They exhausted all other options until they made this decision.
Mm-hmm.
So I 100% agree, Josh. You hit that right on the money. Like, if they wanted them as bad and they had this plan for him to come in and be the guy and be the starter, like, it wouldn't have took this long.
They would have had him there for OTAs.
Right.
He wasn't there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He was doing God knows what in Texas.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. I'm glad that it's something that we can put behind us, but I don't see this working out great for the Panthers, but it also could just be like a non-impactful thing for the Panthers. If they end up moving forward without him at starting quarterback and it works out, then it is what it is. They gave up a conditional pick for him. You know what I mean? Like, it could be a non-story for Carolina if he's not the guy that ends up being a starter.
I mean, honestly, I think we can all see a world where the Panthers suck this year. Matt Rule gets fired, and both Darnold and Baker are gone in Carolina after the season. Okay.
Yeah.
100%.
That's a very, very real possibility. And then, with whatever their record is, 3-14 or 4-13, they end up taking a quarterback in the top, 4 or 5 picks.
Right. And think of the massive amount of pressure that's going to be on Baker Mayfield's shoulders when he's finally back on the field. You know what I mean? Like, he's got everything to play for. And same for Carolina. Like, it's just going to be such a pressure-filled season. And he's been a guy that's shown, like, when times get tough, like, he's not a good leader. You know what I mean? He causes more drama than he does to help the situation. And if things start to get rough in Carolina, like, I expect him to be right in the middle of every controversy with everybody on the team. So I could see this being a really, really bad thing for the Panthers. But
yeah,
I mean, he routinely threw the best coach he's ever had under the bus.
Right.
Okay. And Kevin Stefanski.
Yeah.
That happened a lot.
Mm-hmm.
A guy
I know Sorry.
No, I was just going to say a guy that has dealt with so many changes at the coaching position and finally has a guy that, like, clearly is head and shoulders above the rest, and he throws him under the bus. So.
Right. I know that, like, Baker Mayfield and Browns fans here in Cleveland, like, didn't have a bad relationship or anything, but it's kind of feels similar to when Boston fans were like, hey, Kyrie, we'll pack your bags and send you on a plane out of here. It feels kind of similar to that.
Well, Kyrie was at least good.
Yeah, at least had some of value to give away. But I'll agree, like, a lot of the fan base has wanted this to happen. Like, a lot of people wanted him to be moved away. So, yeah,
exactly.
it has that same feeling like, a lot of us were just exhausted with the situation and done, and just wanted to move on from Baker Mayfield. But there's still a very large contingency of people on Twitter that are crying right now about the Browns making the biggest mistake in their history, and the Deshaun situations. He's never going to play for the Browns, and Baker's going to go win a Pro Bowler in Carolina. Like, it's all on Twitter right now. You can go read all of that nonsense. So,
and that's hilarious because apparently the people saying stuff about him becoming a Pro Bowler in Carolina are completely unaware of how stacked the NFC is in quarterbacks.
right.
He has zero chance of making the Pro Bowl in the NFC. Zero.
Yeah, I saw one guy that was like, "How are you going to feel when Deshaun's suspended for the entire season and Baker wins 10 games and takes him to the postseason?" And it's like, are you high? Like, where has he shown that he's capable? You know what I mean? Like, he's not going to take that.
That's not going to happen. I mean, he's on the worst team in his division.
Right.
He's the worst quarterback in his division. Like.
Yeah, I think that Browns team that he played for might be the best roster that he'll ever find himself with.
What would you tell Baker if he came into this chat right now?
Dude, you suck. Good riddance. Adios, loser.
That's what you would say as soon as he came on here?
Yeah. Like, I'm so sick of dealing with him. Like, I realized this guy was terrible like 3 years ago, and everyone's just like, "No, man, you're just a hater." I'm like, "No, he sucks. You are just blinded."
You were ahead of the curve. You were ahead of the curve. You listened to the advanced analytics about Baker that showed from the very beginning that a lot of his numbers were fraudulent.
A lot of his performances were too. Like,
yeah,
I was out on him when he was still at Oklahoma. Like, does anyone remember like him in the college football playoff and him looking like hot garbage in the fourth quarter? Like, we saw exactly what we saw last year in Cleveland at Oklahoma, where he had no pocket presence, he had no feel, he tried to make moves in the pocket, and he would take big sacks or fumble or make poor throwing decisions. None of this is new. People just were like, "No, that's the anomaly." No, this is the rule. Him being good is the anomaly. Okay.
I agree 100%.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Like, when we made it to the playoffs in, what was it, 2020, 2021, something like that, whatever it was, one of those two. And we would go on to beat Pittsburgh. It wasn't because of Baker Mayfield. That was because of the Steelers playing like shit, shooting themselves in the foot, giving us good field position, and we were able to make plays.
Yeah.
And then in the game against Kansas City in the next round, if Patrick Mahomes doesn't get injured, we don't make that a game. We lose that game by 30. So,
yeah, I agree.
Yeah, that playoff run, is what really caused this whole mess, because the Browns were like, "Oh shit, he led us to the playoffs." Well, in their mind, they thought he led us to the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
So they're like, "Oh, well, now we have to pick up his fifth-year option," and clearly it came back to bite us in the ass.
Yeah, that's the only thing that Baker Bros can really go back to is just that. Well, he's the best quarterback we've had since '99, or he's the most successful we've had since '99, and blah blah blah. It's like,
it is not wrong.
That's the only number, though. You look at all of the stats, all of the analytics. You look at it, and he's just objectively a bad quarterback.
Did he deserve to be first overall either that year?
No.
Josh
Allen did. Exists.
Yeah. Josh Allen did. He should have been the number one pick. Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Again, something else I was out ahead on. Josh Allen, number one. Baker Mayfield, not good. Like,
Lamar Jackson was also there.
Yeah, Lamar Jackson was there. We forgot him.
When are people just going to start listening to me? I've been right about all this shit. Time has been my best friend.
We could have had him 2 chances. We had 2 chances to get Lamar Jackson. Because we had the 4th pick, remember?
We did. And, like, honestly, my ideal draft that year would have been Josh Allen 1, Micah Fitzpatrick 4th. Okay?
Ooh,
that would have been my ideal draft.
I love that. Yeah, I love
that would have been amazing.
But what about our staff? Would they be able to go along with our staff?
What about him? What staff?
I don't know. All that combination matters.
Your question was, would our staff be able to go along with our staff? What does that mean?
Would our staff be able to go along with Minka and Josh Allen?
Sure.
My bad.
They're good players. That's the thing. Good
Right.
players are able to transcend bad situations. Okay. If
Yeah,
a player is good, he will still produce no matter how terrible the coach is. Okay.
Right.
If a player's performance is reliant on coach and scheme and situation, that tells you everything about the player. It's that he is a product of that. He is not necessarily good. Okay?
And that's a lot of the guys that are the guys you can win with, not because, but with, and that's what Baker is. He's a guy you can win with in a system like that, but he's not a guy who can transcend a bad coaching situation or bad talent on the roster or whatever it may be. He doesn't take you up and above that next hump to get wins. Like, he's not a transcendent player like that. And at the quarterback position, like that you need that to be a Super Bowl team. You need a guy who can go out there and win the game when it's on the line.
Mm-hmm. Like, look how bad the Colts were during Peyton Manning's rookie year. Okay, look how bad the Lions were early on in Matthew Stafford's career.
Yeah,
okay?
sure.
The Bengals with Carson Palmer. Okay, I was never the biggest Carson Palmer guy, but I can admit he was a good quarterback.
Right.
Like, you look at those guys; they came into dog shit situations, and they were able to pull through and be good quarterbacks. And when I mentioned here just a second ago that didn't win a Super Bowl was Carson Palmer.
Right.
But the other two won Super Bowls. Okay. Yeah. Those are the quarterbacks that you look at and go, this guy came into a bad situation, was able to rise above it and turn into a very productive quarterback. Okay. Yeah. Even Josh Allen came into a situation in Buffalo, which was not ideal. Okay. Mm-hmm. Everyone has this idea that like Buffalo is this stable situation that was just churning out good season after good season. They are like what, a slightly step above the Browns in 2018. Like they weren't that good. Like there's a reason they ended up drafting a quarterback that year. It's because they needed one. Okay, they weren't a good team.
Yeah.
Right.
God, what the hell are the Panthers even doing, man? Like it wasn't that long ago when they brought Cam Newton back.
I remember that.
Tried that experiment. Like they just keep bringing in like these toxic, like bad locker room guys, and it's just blowing up in their face. It's just like I don't know who knows what the hell they're thinking down there.
And I'm pretty sure their owner's trying to get them a new stadium.
This ain't the way to get support. I can tell you that much.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty pathetic.
I mean, they have to be one of the worst ran franchises in football right now. It's got to be like them. The Commanders, the Cowboys stepped in it the other day. They made a very big mistake yesterday.
Holy shit, right?
Oh, that was really bad. The Chargers are run poorly still. But like we look at this, just like, okay, no wonder why you continue to suck.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
There are organizations that are in this position because they put themselves there. Like the Panthers are one of those teams that like they are not a team that's been, they haven't came across a bunch of misfortunes like one after the other or anything like that. Like this has just been bad decision after bad decision and bad player and bad coach and it's just a disaster. And that's why like Cleveland turning the page and like having a good locker room and that type of winning culture really matters. And Baker isn't a guy that fits that type of culture. So this is an addition by subtraction move for the Browns. Just by him leaving, the locker room is immediately better. So
let me ask you guys this. Considering what you all are saying about the Panthers, would you say that their run to the Super Bowl in 2015 was one of the worst things that could happen to them?
A run to the Super Bowl? No, that's not the worst thing that's going to happen to them. But like, the worst thing that happened to the Panthers is David Tepper bought the Panthers. Okay, that's the worst thing that happened to the Panthers.
Yeah,
they have been so bad during his time with them. Hold on, give me 1 second, and I will have the numbers for you because Warren Sharp just tweeted them out a second ago. I got to refresh Twitter here.
Oh, nice.
What did he got to say?
Okay. David Tepper, the richest owner in the NFL, bought the Panthers in 2018. Since they're 22-43, which is the fifth worst record in the NFL, they have 0 winning seasons, 0 playoff appearances, and won only 5 games for 3 straight years. And in 2022, they're favored in only 2 of 17 games.
Wow.
They've had high draft picks in just about every draft. They had the 7th overall pick in 2020. They drafted a defensive tackle. Number 8 in 2021, corner. Number 6 last year, an offensive tackle. Ooh. They know they didn't have a quarterback, and they did this.
Have they had a good pick since Kuechly?
The Panthers?
Yeah. He was picked by the Panthers, right?
Jack Thompson?
Kuechly was drafted by the Panthers,
He
right?
was.
Yeah.
McCaffrey?
McCaffrey, yeah.
Yeah, but with the injuries and everything, that's kind of been a bust too, almost. Yeah, I guess talent-wise, McCaffrey for sure. But, other than Kuechly, I don't remember them drafting a dude. And it was like, oh, they made the right move here. That's the last time I remember them doing something that was like, oh, this is a good pick or this is a good move.
Right. I actually just went on to ESPN to see which games the Panthers are favored in.
I found Gil. Oh, no, wait, that's not a pick.
They're favored on Thursday Night Football when they host Atlanta, and they're favored by 3.5 when they host the Detroit Lions.
So
2 out of 17?
Yes.
That's hilarious.
No, their draft history is fucking terrible. I'm looking at it right now. It is so bad. It is so bad.
It is bad.
How about in back-to-back years, in 2014 and 15, they go Kelvin Benjamin and Coney Ely. Okay. Then 2015, they go Shaq Thompson and Devin Funchess.
I mean, in 2014, people were saying that was like a good pick at first.
I was never a Kelvin Benjamin guy. That
like
guy
at first, when he first started, people were saying this guy was a good pick, and then over time, you saw how he wasn't that great.
He was never good. He was never going to be good. That was
how come he kept thinking he was good?
Because people get so into draft things, and here's the problem. Here's what happens with draft Twitter and draft analysis and everything like that. And I was thinking about this morning, so this is actually perfect. Too many people get obsessed with just watching highlights. Okay.
Yeah. They
watch highlights, they don't watch the whole thing.
Yeah.
Highlights can talk you into anybody. Okay. And again, and I've said this before, they come up with this their notebook, and they're writing all these positives about this play. He can do this, he can do this. Tell me the negatives. Tell me what they can't do. Because that will tell me whether or not he's draftable or not. Too many people come up with a list of positives. Give me the negatives. Because if the negatives have one giant red flag, which is like, that's a big problem, then he's undraftable. People don't come up with the list of negatives. Give me the list of negatives. You can give me all the positives you want because you can get talked into by positives. Tell me what he can't do.
That's a fair way of looking at it. I totally agree with that perspective too. I'll tell you why I asked the question originally about if the Super Bowl run was the worst thing that could have happened for the Panthers. Because when you make a run to the Super Bowl like that, they went 15-1 during the regular season. They looked like this unstoppable juggernaut. Like maybe they legitimately thought, okay, we can keep this going, and now it's come crashing back down to earth. So maybe I'm saying like that Super Bowl run perhaps raised their expectations too high.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
I'm not gonna go there and say it raised their expectations too high. It's just that bad roster management is what leads to teams that make a Super Bowl run end up falling apart. Okay, we've seen it many, many times. A team makes it to the Super Bowl, they're not able to manage their roster properly, and the team comes crashing back down to earth so fast. A team can make a deep playoff run, and bad roster management can result in the team falling completely apart. Look at the Jaguars. They were like, we got Blake Bortles, we're good, instead of drafting a quarterback. They could have drafted a quarterback, and maybe they still have Myles Jack and Jalen Ramsey in that really good defense. But no, they said, we're good with Blake Bortles.
Right.
You can't make that mistake. If you can't say that we have a quarterback we can win with and identify him as your guy. You need the guy that you're winning because of when you're supposed to be making those deep runs. Okay? Because when a team is making a deep run and you have a team that's really good, but your quarterback's the one, but then you have a big problem. Okay? And the big history, the big sticking point in Cleveland with Baker Mayfield was always but with everything. Okay, so if you can't manage your roster properly, when you have a but quarterback, you fall apart.
Yeah. So I totally hear what you're saying. Like, you know, Baker Mayfield was not a quarterback you win because of, or wait, I think I have that backwards. Baker Mayfield was not.
You're right.
Okay. Like, when the Rams won the Super Bowl this year, I'll say their defense was a huge reason for that, but it was also they won because of Matthew Stafford. When the Chiefs' run of dominance, it's been because of Patrick Mahomes.
The Packers making so many NFC Championship games because of Aaron Rodgers. Yeah, like
right.
You could say about a lot of guys. The Browns didn't make the playoffs for the first time in however many years because Baker was a great quarterback. They made it because they had a good team in a weak division, and a couple things bounced their way, and he was just good enough to win with.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah.
And that's how I saw it playing out. It was like he was the right quarterback at the right time for us in that moment. But like in hindsight now, I mean, Josh Allen, obviously a better option. Lamar Jackson, obviously a better option. So it's the writing's been on the wall really for a long time with him. It's just been delayed because of, that early success that, people wanted to accredit to him rather than accrediting to the team and the organization for putting together a good ball club.
Right.
What happened, a lot of it, and Churk, you mentioned it, he was the best quarterback they've had in '99, but that's not an accomplishment. I'm sorry.
Not really.
It's not.
Not really. That's
he's still bad. He's just better than the worst. Like
it's just like that's the level of expectations we have because we were that desperate. He's the best quarterback of all time because he took us to the playoffs the first time.
We saw a guy whose peak is average, and we said this guy is our savior. Okay, and that's what we ended up with. Like, what are we doing?
I don't know.
If that's what Cleveland wants, if they're satisfied with like every 20 years making a playoff appearance, then keep Baker in town. Make him your guy. Let him lead the way. But we want more than that, and then this organization their goals are bigger than that. And we saw once we finally went up against a team like the Chiefs, Baker wasn't good enough to take us up and over that hump and get us to the next level. So, he's had opportunities to do it, and he hasn't came through in those opportunities. So it's not like he didn't have his chances here in Cleveland.
Right.
He got a fair shake, in my opinion.
He did, and he didn't live up to expectations. He still led the league in interceptions since he was drafted. He still was one of the worst quarterbacks in the league in the fourth quarter. This is facts. This is factual information. I don't care what PFF grades him as or what they have that, because they can manipulate numbers to make anybody look good. Okay. Right. They've done it so many times. I went on a little rant about it yesterday on Twitter, but that's what they do. So, and honestly, a lot of, PFF guys have just like this hard on for Baker Mayfield. Okay. A lot of football analyst people do for some reason. And there was, he's got a strong arm. His arm strength is the most overrated aspect of him. I'm sorry, because he throws the ball 100 miles an hour to a guy 5 yards away from him. He's got a strong arm. How about he throws the ball downfield? That thing dies about halfway most of the time. Okay. His arm strength is the most overrated part of his game.
Yeah, he definitely has a strong arm, but in terms of using it to his advantage, no, he doesn't. Just like you said, he has zero touch on passes inside of 10 yards or 15 yards. And when he does throw the deep ball, it's not consistent. So can he huck it? Every once in a while, can he huck it 70 yards? Sure, but like most of the time, he hucks it and it goes 57 yards and ends up in the hands of the wrong team.
It's an arm punt, is what it is.
It is. It's a very long punt. That's a very good way to describe it. He's a glorified punter, Baker.
Yeah.
Go back and look at, for example, at the game from this past season against the Vikings. Like, he consistently overthrew Odell multiple times during that game, where it was like the dude was wide open. He could have made a play if you threw him the ball properly. Right. Yeah.
The problem is when you're not accurate and you increase your velocity, it makes things worse. You know what I mean? Like you're making the problem worse when you throw a bad ball harder. And it's resulted poorly for him. We've seen it with him. Like James said, he's always, thrown a lot of interceptions, and that's why in those situations that he does.
Oh, hold on. I just saw this. Do you know who the Panthers offensive coordinator is?
Not offhand, no.
It's fucking Ben McAdoo.
Oh, God.
What?
Oh, man.
I didn't realize that.
As if you couldn't get any worse. Oh, God.
What the hell? Are they
I remember that guy.
It's gone from Kevin Stefanski to Ben McAdoo.
What are they even doing?
Oh, my God.
It's just owner in football, and he spends his money on garbage.
Does.
Move the team.
Man.
Move them out of Carolina. They don't deserve a team at this point.
Ben McAdoo, just like his presence, he got the look of like, I'm going to ruin that team.
He kind of does, doesn't he?
Like, I can't wait to do it.
Right.
And then
right.
when he's
anxious to get in there and just cause havoc.
And as far as his playoff appearance goes, that was all. I would say that was mostly the team. That was not him at all.
Well, he didn't play. That's for sure. He coached.
I didn't think he coached that team to the playoffs that season.
There we go. I get what you're saying.
Yeah, when he
kind
was
of like
ahead,
Baker, kind of like with the Baker situation. He's not what led the Browns to the playoffs that season.
Yeah,
he was
correct.
You think he's like the quarterback, Ben McAdoo? Yeah.
I was equating it to the situation of him. They're not winning because of him. They're winning with him.
Right. I would say the season we went to the playoffs, the Browns went to the playoffs mostly because of their run game. And again, it was with Baker Mayfield, not because of. In my opinion, it was because of the run game.
Right.
Yeah.
But
I think we're all on the same page with that.
Yeah.
What you got next year?
Kevin Durant, he wants out of Brooklyn.
I heard.
Yeah, the Brooklyn situation is very interesting, and it just kind of gets more and more layers to it by the day, it seems like.
Yeah.
So Kyrie signs the big extension and remains in Brooklyn for now. We still don't know if that ends up being, permanent or what have you. But and then KD requesting the trade, which raised a lot of eyebrows because once Kyrie signed that deal, it was kind of assumed by a lot of people that meant that, the band was going to stay together. But it doesn't appear to be that way.
Right.
No.
And Kyrie did not get a long-term contract with the Nets. He was just opting into his player option for, what was it, 36 million, 37 million, something like that.
Sounds right, yeah.
But
that came after the failure to facilitate a sign-in trade.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
Though I've heard so many different opinions about this from various talking heads, but the one constant that I've heard throughout this whole thing is, this whole situation is Kyrie Irving's fault because, him not getting the vaccine and the vaccine mandate by New York completely fractured the team and all this and that. I'm not going to say whether I agree with all that or not, but that's just a take I've heard from talking heads. So.
Okay. Do you have an opinion?
I thought somebody was going to go off of that.
You brought up the take. You brought the take up because you had an opinion on it.
Yeah.
But I think the whole Kyrie thing had a big factor in this. I don't know if it was the whole reason, but I think it was a major part of it. Arguably the biggest part, if you ask me.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind seeing Kyrie in Cleveland taking that roster spot from Colin Sexton.
Yeah, but I don't know. I'm happy with Garland.
We'll get to Garland in a few minutes, but here's where I have an issue with Kevin Durant in this whole thing. You think about it. Think about the teams that he primarily wants to get traded to. Phoenix and Miami. Well, they just so happen to be the number 1 seeds from the playoffs this past season. When he signed with Golden State, was it like Golden State was some bum ass team? No, they had just won 73, a record-setting 73 games the past season, and were within 1 win of winning their 2nd consecutive championship.
Yeah.
So, and then Kevin Durant says, "Okay, I'm going to go to Brooklyn because I want to build my own legacy. Like, I want to have my own team." Well, by saying you want to go to Phoenix to possibly play with Devin Booker, Chris Paul, maybe DeAndre Ayton, we'll see what happens there. Or by saying you want to go to Miami to play with Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, maybe Kyle Lowry, maybe Duncan Robinson, Tyler Hero, whatever. That's not you making your own legacy, Kevin Durant. That's you, almost hurting your own legacy in a way.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if his objective is to win rings, then of course the people at the top of his wish list are going to be the teams that are in position to win. So it makes sense that they are, I don't necessarily think that the only reason he picked them is because they were the 1st seed in each conference. I don't think that the seeding is all, especially this year, I think the seeding was pretty fraudulent, to be fair.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's a little more to it than that. It's not just him going to the best team. And like him going to Golden State was like that was totally different because they were just a juggernaut. You know what I mean? Like, are Phoenix and Miami good? Yeah, but are they anywhere near that Golden State team? No. So I don't think this is as like negative ring chasey, like joining up with the best player in the league type, that people are making it out to be.
Okay, that's a fair criticism, and I get that.
He did mention Golden State, though. He's interested in going back to Golden State. So, if he goes back there, then, yeah, I mean, he's obviously changed his opinion on the way that he felt about having his own thing. Maybe he's reprioritized and realized that maybe he realized nobody can win it on their own.
How about him in Washington?
So,
That'd be hilarious, is what that would be.
You would like him in Washington, in his hometown?
No.
They're terrible.
The Wizards are terrible. They're awful.
You don't think him and Bradley Beal would be a great duo?
What about the rest of the team?
Yeah.
The team's trash.
Right.
Yeah. The rest of the team is
5 out there at a time.
The rest of the team is awful.
So you look at 3 of the 4 teams that have inquired about Kevin Durant. 3 of the 4 of them are good. The 4th one isn't good that much. The one that's not that good is Toronto.
Right.
Okay. But it's Phoenix, Golden State, Miami. They're all good. He's looking at teams that are A, good, B, have depth. Okay.
He can make a team good.
Well, yeah, he's obviously going to make a team better if he joins a bad team, but like it.
There's difference between like going to a good team and having that team be actually good, and LeBron leading the 07 Cavs to the finals and then getting swept. Okay, right. Because that's exactly the type of situation he would have in Washington. It would be him and Beal if he's still there, and a whole bunch of nobodies, and whenever they face a good team in the playoffs, they're done.
He'll average 50 points per game in the finals of the Eastern or Western Conference or whatever and still lose. Like, that's how it works when you go to a team that you're the only guy or you're one of only 2. Like, you have to have depth.
Right. Like, James, you just mentioned how LeBron was basically all we had in 07 when we got swept by the Spurs. When Kawhi went to Toronto and led the Raptors to the championship, which, again, they would have lost if Golden State was fully healthy. I think we can all agree on that one. But that was an anomaly. Like, Kawhi, like, that normally doesn't happen, right? Where you make a massive trade like that and then immediate impact. Like, Kawhi was, at least from my take, Kawhi felt like a one-man band in the finals against the Warriors.
Yeah, but they had depth. They were a deep team, and they played well together. Like, they had a really good winning culture there in Toronto at the time. Like it's not like he did it all by himself, you know. I do think a lot of it had to do with injuries on the other side of things too.
Right.
So, yeah, I don't necessarily think like Kawhi going there is the only reason that they won the title that year. It's part of it. It's obviously a big part of it, but
it is. Swapping out DeRozan for Kawhi is I think is the big thing. It's not just Kawhi going there. It's removing DeRozan from the equation and replacing him with a much more rounded and significantly better player in Kawhi.
Right.
Right. Okay.
Proven winner too. Like DeRozan, he hasn't been on a winner yet. Like, you know what I mean? He's been on good teams, but like even like that Chicago team, they were kind of like a paper tiger. And when it comes time, you know, to play playoff basketball, he's not a winner, you know.
No.
I think DeRozan's a good player, but I don't think DeRozan's a guy that you're building your team around.
Right. That's what I'm getting at.
To take it to that next level. He's a guy you add to.
Yeah.
He's the guy you use to add to your existing roster. You're not adding players to your roster to complement him.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, he's a complimentary player. He's never going to be the number one, guy on any given five-man roster,
or a team that's going to win anything of significance.
Right.
He reminds me a lot of Carmelo Anthony. Is what he reminds me a lot of. Just a guy that's good, but he's not going to be the guy that takes you to where you want to go. He's got to be the guy that complements somebody else that takes you where you want to go.
Still could be a Hall of Famer.
Colin Sexton too. You know.
Yeah.
Really productive, but not in a way that's significant, you know.
Yeah, I agree 100% with you on that one, Brian.
Yeah.
We know you love Colin Sexton, so
yeah.
You do.
You think he should start this year? They should keep him and he should be a starter?
Should he be a Hall of Famer?
Oh boy. Can we start with just should he start?
Yeah.
Do you think so? You really think so? He should be a starter for the Cavs?
No.
I'm asking Churk.
Oh, what? No. I mean, depending on the team he's with and what the fit is.
The Cavs.
The Cavs. No? Okay, cool. Okay. Well, then you are on the same page. I thought you were the only one there that was kind of going against the grain. But
well, welcome to the right side of history. I've been on this for a while, considering most of the topics we've discussed here today. Best to hop on my thought process.
Many snaps for James.
Kudos to me.
Yeah.
What the fuck? Is this now the James show?
This is the James taking victory laps because I got tired of people saying bullshit on Twitter for years. Okay.
Yeah. You haven't changed your tune on Colin Sexton once since the beginning of last year.
No, I haven't changed my tune on Colin Sexton before I even met any of you people. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you've been very consistent with the fact that you didn't think that he was a guy that was going to, be a part of a winning team.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't think that he fits into this roster. It doesn't make sense for him to stay here in Cleveland. And I think with, Garland obviously being the guy in the 5-year max deal that they signed him to, I wouldn't be surprised if we part ways with Sexton soon.
Yeah.
Well, so let's talk about that. They signed the right guard to the max extension. Okay.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And that would be Darius Garland.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's going to argue that. He's definitely the better player.
Right.
5-year, $193 million deal. Okay.
Right. So Jared Allen has his extension. Garland has his extension. How soon until we hear about Evan Mobley getting his extension? What,
2-3 years? Whatever his contract is.
Yeah, he's only in his second year of his rookie contract, so it'll be a minute.
So Garland just finished his 3rd year, so 2 more years before you're talking about rookie eligible extension, I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we have some time. And so the point here in regards to Sexton and whether or not they should do anything with him is you got to keep in mind money that you have to earmark for other players down the road. Evan Mobley is going to be a guy you're going to extend. Okay, we've already identified that. We're going to have to add other players via trade, through free agency, through the draft, who are going to have to get paid. Okay. And if it's the free agency, you're going to have to overhead because that's just how it is. And
yeah, anytime you go through free agency,
you're going to need money to add a player that fits, and it's going to cost a lot of money. So I'd rather have that money available to do that than pay a guy like Colin Sexton money he probably shouldn't be making for a role that he shouldn't be in.
Yeah, that's the thing. When anytime you're dealing with a cap, you have to allocate your money to the right people, and it's not always about how much this individual is making. It's about how much of this resources that we're giving to this player is taking away from resources we could, add to another player. And that when you have a guy like Garland and a guy like Sexton that are, similar in ways, you kind of have to make your decision on one or the other because it's not feasible to give them both max deals, So, yeah, I'm kind of surprised there's no real traction on anybody, wanting Sexton yet. I thought that there would be a little bit more demand in the market than there is.
The Mavs inquired about a potential sign and trade, but the Cavs are apparently not interested in anything the Dallas has to offer.
Yeah.
But, that's really the only thing I've seen of anyone being like,
yeah,
because it's been just crickets.
Yeah. I haven't heard much of anything about him potentially signing anywhere. So it's an interesting situation because it seems like the writing is definitely on the wall, but like there's no smoke here with anybody, picking up steam towards trying to acquire him.
Mm-hmm. I mean, we heard a lot of, conversations during the season and early on in the offseason of, Sexton wants 20 million or upwards, of that. Then like a week ago, there was like some executive said like 10 million bucks is the most I'd pay him. Like that guy knows what the fuck he's talking about because, I mean, say what you want. The guy's either going to be a starting guard on a really bad team or a backup guard on a good team in a sixth man role. Okay.
Right.
That's it.
Yeah. I agree.
How about this? Let's just trade him to the Orlando Magic and get a second round pick for him. There you go.
It clears clutter. I think they do need to clear some clutter, and I think he would qualify as clutter.
Yeah. I'd be okay with that, Josh. I'm not opposed to that.
You look at the guards that the Cavs currently have. I mean, Ricky Rubio's back. They have Karis LeVert under contract. They drafted Abaji. Like, where's the minutes? Where's the playing time?
Right.
Yeah, and don't forget Okoro.
He's more of a small forward than a guard.
Londo's still on the roster?
No.
Okay.
No.
That's
so,
good. Does
so
he finally that guy needs to end his playing career?
Yeah. So let me ask you this, James, since you just classified Okoro as a small forward. Could you see a situation where we possibly get rid of Lauri Markkanen, put Okoro at the starting small forward, and then have either Abaji or LeVert as the starting shooting guard? Could you see a scenario like that?
They don't need to do either of those. They don't need to do the former to make the latter happen. Okay.
Right.
So I don't think they're necessarily all that motivated to move Markkanen right now, even though I would love for them to do that because I hated that signing.
Yeah.
But if you move Markkanen and you had to put Okoro on the starter, you didn't make your team better by that.
You're not getting much production offensively from that position at all.
The reason they have Markkanen in the starting lineup is because he can shoot threes. Okay, even though he was not really that great at it last year, and he predictably fell off from a career year the year before. Like, what are we doing? Like, you can't just remove him and put Okoro in there, who's not an offensive,
anything. He's not an offensive anything. He's a non-entity on offense.
Like, so they're not going to do that. I mean, as far as who their second guards, I don't know who their second guard's going to be because they really don't have someone who should be their second guard.
Rubio if he's healthy,
but they like him for that the point guard off the bench role, which I think he's perfect for.
Oh yeah. I thought that's what you meant.
I meant like shooting guard, like
the second guard off the bench.
Yeah,
okay, I got you.
From what I've seen in summer league, they've been working a lot with Abaji and him being a ball dominant player. So looking at some of these other guys on the team, mainly Sexton, like I've said it before, Department of Redundancy department.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, the only problem with like Abaji stepping in for Markkanen is like Markkanen's 6'11" and Abaji is, barely 6'5".
Yeah.
So it's a big size difference there. And we don't know what kind of 3-point shooter Abaji is going to be in the NBA. Hopefully he can contribute, but he doesn't offer you that same element of like a big, tall stretch forward like Markkanen. Even though he's not a great stretch forward, he still offers you that threat. He still has the potential to hit that deep ball in the corner. So he still does things for your offense off the ball just by being out there that having Abaji or Okoro out there on offense don't do. So even though I don't particularly care for Markkanen, he's the best option out of the three right now, I think.
And I know we're probably 8 months away from the trade deadline in the NBA season, but by the time that happens, I think this Cavs roster is going to look a whole hell of a lot different than what it does right now.
I think so too.
I think they're going to identify who they are going to be their foundational players, so they want to be their future guys and the guys they want to move on from, and be able to get other players that complement who they want to build around better.
Right. Yeah, I agree. Like, hopefully they take out the trash known as Chetty Osman. And
there's just a lot of overlapping skill sets, and the problem with a lot of those guys, those overlapping skill sets, is they're not good enough to warrant playing one over the other, definitively.
Right.
It's just, you got to do something. You can't just keep piling on the same guy and have a whole bunch of guys that are like, yeah, we have a whole bunch of role-playing guards or a whole bunch of role-playing small forwards. Like you need to make that upgrade, that jump. Like, it's great the Cavs went from garbage to fun this year, but to go from fun to good, you gotta make some adjustments to your roster, and they still haven't done that yet.
Yeah, look at what Atlanta did. They went out and traded for DeJounte Murray to go along with Trae Young.
Yeah.
Same thing with Minnesota. I don't understand why they traded for Rudy Gobert. I think
that one made no sense. I mean, I guess they're probably going to switch Karl Anthony Towns to power forward now.
That's what they're going to do. They're kind of going to just change things a little bit, their lineup wise, because let's be honest, Karl Anthony Towns as their center, he's fun, he's good.
No defense.
He's not making an impact enough to warrant him being their starting five. And so hopefully him being their starting four, his size, his skill set will create some mismatches in their favor.
Yeah, and Gobert's a rim protector, and Karl Anthony Towns, you can just get him to jump and then go around him.
Yeah, but here's the problem I have with Minnesota doing this trade. They gave up a shit ton to get him. They gave up 5 first-round picks, multiple players. So, I get it. They're going all in on Anthony Edwards. They're going all in on Karl Anthony Towns, but we don't know if D'Angelo Russell is still going to be there. I've heard there's question marks about him. And who else are they going to put around Anthony Edwards and Karl Anthony Towns? I don't see any complementary players. So I'm not necessarily saying Minnesota got worse, but by the same token, I don't know if they got necessarily better either. You know what I mean?
I don't know. The Timberwolves, here's what I'll say. In regards to relevance, they're still not relevant.
No. I agree with you there. I don't view them, after this trade, I don't view them as oh my God, the Timberwolves are now a title contender. No. Anybody who views the Timberwolves as a legit title threat after this trade, they are delusional, and yeah, they are probably high on LSD or something like that.
Yeah.
They have some, I guess, decent supporting people, but they need more. Is what Minnesota needs. That's what Minnesota needs. They need a lot more.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, anyway, so what's next on the rundown?
Let's talk about NBA 2K covers.
Oh yeah, Michael Jordan got announced as the 2K23 cover. Athlete.
So does that mean we're gonna get back a good 2K again?
No.
No. I thought that was gonna happen because I remember NBA 2K11 was a great game. That was one of my favorites.
2K hasn't been good in a long time.
It hasn't.
It
Neither has Madden.
Madden hasn't either, but 2K has not been good in a long time, and it's just like, well, okay, yeah. You're gonna get the same game again. You're gonna get the same problems that the game has again.
The same bump steals, the same animations, the same. You throw the ball out of bounds.
It's just not a good game. It's not. And like, it's awesome that they're putting him on the cover of the Michael Jordan edition, the championship edition of the game, but like, that's just done for one thing, and that's to sell money. That's all 2K's been focused on. Which I get it; they're a business. They should be focused on making money. Yeah. But unfortunately their focus has been more on making money rather than putting out a good product. Because honestly, if they put out a good product, they would end up making more money than focusing on shit like this and microtransactions. Okay.
Yeah, that's the problem I've had, not just with 2K, but just the gaming industry. I mean, the fact is, the thing is, it used to be about like just making a good game, and yeah, profits came along with it, which is how it should be. But now it turned into what it is today, and it's just awful.
Yeah,
it's terrible.
They used to be innovative and like creative, and now they're just stuck with the same shit
over and over again. And over and over. That's what we get. We're going to get more of the same bad product when it's all said and done.
Yeah.
And yet, people are going to continue to go out and buy these games, and
of course,
because they're going to say, "Oh, NBA 2K,
I got the newest."
Exactly right. They're going to go out and say, "Oh, NBA 2K23 is out with Michael Jordan on the cover. I got to go out and buy it." Or, like, you have the WNBA fan who's going to see that Sue Bird and Diana Taurasi are on the cover, and they'll go out and buy the game. By the way, bring Brittany Griner home.
Free Brittany Griner. I agree with you on that, Josh.
Yes, 100%. Bring Brittany Griner home.
Free her.
Just wanted to put that out there. Anyway, but it's the same thing with Madden too. Like, Madden 23 is going to come out, or whatever they're going to call it, and everybody's
I saw some gameplay of that, and they have the guy on the cover, and it feels like a disgrace a little bit.
I mean, that game's not going to be good either.
Respect.
It's not. I already knew it wasn't going to be good the moment I saw they still had those stupid icons under the players. Okay, those icons are terrible. They focused way too much on making an arcade style football game rather than making a simulation style. It's terrible.
To the man who's on the cover, this is disrespect.
They haven't had a good game in 7 years.
Yeah, since like the one with Adrian Peterson on the cover was the last good one I can remember. Remember that one?
I would say the last good one was the Tom Brady cover.
It wasn't awful, but
that was the one. That was the last one I played a whole bunch. Was that one?
Do you remember the old Maddens when you get like the ball carrier and like you bump into him, and he just falls backwards?
I mean, yeah, all those games are full of glitches. I've had tons of glitches playing those games too.
It was like the chain game, like when you like go into them out of bounds, they would like jump out of the way or whatever. The coaches would too. You remember those days?
I do.
And the helmets would come off.
The last Madden game I played was when Patrick Mahomes was on the cover.
I mean, I've played the last couple, but I have the EA Access thing that I paid for. Okay, so I can download the game without actually playing it and get like 10 free hours before I have to pay for it, and that's what I play. And I get a feel for the game, realize it sucks, then delete it.
Yeah, and that's all you can do. Now, how about Madden NFL 2K? How would that be?
Okay, you just crossed over two separate franchises.
Well, yeah, the thing is, like, 2K football could always come back. I mean,
it's not going to, Churk. It's dead. It's dead. It's dead.
I miss it.
It's dead.
Churk, 2K seems to be strictly focused on the NBA. Although they're, like we said earlier, they're not putting out good games. The last,
and it will be.
I couldn't tell you the last time I played NBA 2K20. Actually, it's been I just recently got back on my PS4. And I've only been playing MLB 19, the show, I believe it is. Yeah. I don't know why. I took a long break from my PlayStation.
Sometimes you need to.
You got to.
But I mean, come on, Churk. They haven't made a football game in 20 years. They haven't made a baseball game in a decade. Okay, like it's time to give it up on 2K doing anything else.
College hoops, do you remember that?
I never played those games. I never played the college football games, the college basketball games, because they didn't entertain me.
Well, hey,
I know there's this big like movement on the internet for the college football game, and it's back now and shit. But like, I don't care. I really don't. Those games don't do anything for me.
I don't either. I agree with
you. I can only play so many games with fake player names or quarterback number 4.
Oh, that was fun.
Receiver number 2. Okay.
And then what about, and the best was when the announcers like called them out. That was even funnier.
Like it never did anything for me. I know a lot of people love college football and stuff like that, or college basketball. The games just don't do anything for me.
They bring back NFL Blitz?
No.
Blitz the league?
No.
All right. Well, hey, speaking of college football, we are getting conference realignment seemingly left and right, because now the Big Ten is going to be expanding all the way out to California. USC and UCLA are coming into the conference. And it sounds like maybe we're going to get Oregon and Washington also joining the Big Ten, although now the Big 12 is recruiting them. So we'll see. But, yeah, I think we're on the way to 2 super conferences, the Big Ten and the SEC.
I mean, let's look at what does this do for the Big Ten? Nothing. It essentially doesn't do anything. You added 2 like middle of the pack teams. Okay, they're not good. USC's a brand. Okay, you added a brand. They're not a good football program. They haven't been a good football program in a while. Okay, like it doesn't do anything for me. Okay, UCLA doesn't do anything for me. You know what you just added? You added 10 p.m. kickoffs to Big Ten schedule. Okay, and that's shit. Okay, nobody wants that.
I will say this. Everybody, I get it. Everybody's immediately looks at the college football aspect of it, and I get it. College football is huge in this country. But think about it. UCLA basketball is historic. They were just recently in the Final Four, and they probably would have won the national champion. Actually, I shouldn't say they probably would have won the championship, because Baylor was just really good that year. But anyway, like, they've been good the past few seasons, and I don't get why everybody's only focusing on the college football aspect of this and not like college basketball or the other sports.
Because football matters all the time.
What? College basketball doesn't?
Not really. College basketball matters for like a month a year, and that's it. College football can get talked about 12 months a year.
Yeah.
It really can.
Mm-hmm.
College basketball can't.
It's only talked about during March.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
When's the last time UCLA won a title?
What was
Oh
this?
God.
1995.
1995.
1995 is the last time they won a title.
Wow. I thought it was gonna be like 2000s or something, but 95.
And before that, it was 1975.
Wow.
Oh, good Lord.
Like, sure, they're historic, but have they really been?
They're one of the best. Like, yeah, they're one of the best campuses in the nation. But yeah,
I mean, I hear your argument, James, about that, like the Big Ten just adding 2 brands, because now you put, the Coliseum in Big Ten country. You put Pauley Pavilion, UCLA's basketball stadium, in the Big Ten. You put the Rose Bowl into the Big Ten. So I hear what you're saying about the brand, but think about this aspect though. Now that you bring in Los Angeles, schools like Ohio State, Michigan, Wisconsin, teams like that can go into the LA market and actually try to recruit these guys. Whereas
that doesn't really matter that much anymore in the modern age. I mean, recruiting has gone way past connections and pipelines. This isn't like the 1950s anymore, where you need to be playing those teams to make an impact. The internet exists, okay? Email exists, cell phones exist. You're able to get in touch with whoever the hell you want. The big schools are aware of the players that are good everywhere in the country. Okay, mm-hmm. It isn't just in your home state or the states that are connected to you. When it's where, what type of school is your school good? Then you're going to recruit a player that's good from any state in the country. It doesn't matter where you play.
Yeah, recruiting got a lot less regional since the innovation of like Twitter and social media and all that. Like it used to be a big resource issue for these recruiters to travel out of state and pay for gas and travel and lodging and all this stuff. And it's not quite like that anymore. A lot of these meetings are done over Zoom. Like they're not always in person. And now with NIL, it's even more, wild west in terms of guys going across the country and here and there. So I think like kids' motivations on where they pick their school is different now. So just because USC and UCLA are in the Big Ten, I don't necessarily think that means more California kids are going to go to Wisconsin or Nebraska. I still don't think they're going to have any interest whatsoever in playing in some of those podunk markets.
If anything, it's going to be the complete opposite.
Yeah. And what have I talked about too is like when you add teams to things, you dilute the product a little bit, and mm-hmm. when you have a 20-team Big Ten where Ohio State is already the top-heavy dominant champion of the division year in and year out for the past 20 years, they're just going to the gap between them and Rutgers is just getting bigger and bigger. You know what I mean? They're not throwing USC and UCLA in the mix that, are historically better programs than them. So,
I mean, the one thing it's going to do is the teams that are at the top of the conference, Ohio State, Michigan's had a nice little run this last year. Congratulations for them. Wisconsin being the continuous team that, wins between 8 and 10 games a year. It's just going to boost them. It's not going to be – it's just going to make their records look better. It's not going to do anything for a USC or a UCLA. Okay. Yeah. When Ohio State gets back to their rightful spot on the top of the conference, and after they beat the fuck out of USC, wherever they play them, it's just going to make Ohio State look better because instead of beating Rutgers 49-0, they beat USC 35-7.
Right.
I can't wait till USC gets off the plane in like 20-degree weather against Minnesota in late December.
Wow.
I tell you what, a lot of people that would have liked to play at USC, now that they're not playing in the Pac-12 and traveling to all those warm weather places, that might be a real thing. They might struggle to get recruits that don't want to go play in Ann Arbor and Columbus, and you really can't blame guys. A lot of guys don't do well in cold weather.
Right. Do you think so we don't know what's going to happen with Notre Dame because the way
Notre Dame just stay independent. They're staying independent. They're not going to do anything.
You don't think they're the Big Ten's going to succeed in bringing them in?
They've been flirting with Notre Dame for 30 years, and they still haven't got here, okay? Like, it's not going to happen, okay? Notre Dame stays independent because Notre Dame makes more money being independent, okay? That's why. They can do whatever the hell they want. They can schedule an entire season of cupcake teams, play one game against USC, and make the college football playoff every year.
Yeah, until someone like NBC decides they're no longer going to give them money to make them a nationally televised product, they're going to stay independent, because they're getting more money to do things their way. And they have a lot more freedom to choose their opponents and where they play and all of that stuff. So, yeah, they don't stand to gain anything by joining the Big Ten in this situation, in my opinion. And in terms of other sports, they've already joined in hockey, for example. They are a Big Ten team in hockey. And then in basketball, they were ACC last year, weren't they?
Yeah.
So they've messed around with like other Notre Dame sports, like joining conferences, but football, they never touch. So I think it would happen now if it was.
They're not going to. I mean, Penn State was just dumb enough to join the Big Ten when they got them to join the conference 25 years ago. Okay, like that's just the way it is. Notre Dame stays being independent because they can play service academies and in one good team a year and call it a year.
Yeah. Like right now, if Penn State were to join a conference, they would be contractually obligated to join the ACC because of what you were saying earlier, Bryan. Like most of their sports are in the ACC, like college football, for example. They are in the ACC, but football remains independent. So if based off what you're hearing or what you're saying, Big Ten should just try and bring in Oregon and Washington.
I don't care about those teams, honestly. They don't do anything for me. You want more middle of the road teams?
Yeah.
Like, cool. Like you bring the team that has 10,000 uniform combinations. You bring in the other team that's good once a decade. Like we already have Wisconsin. Okay, why do we want the West Coast Wisconsin? Why do we want that?
Right. Oh, this comment was for me while I was away.
I love this comment.
If they don't make USC versus MSU an every year rivalry game in football and have that be a trophy game for a Trojan horse, what the fuck are we even doing bringing them into the Big Ten? Because this is the best potential trophy game ever. I mean, it's the Trojan War. It's the Spartans versus the Trojans. It's
only if they unveil a giant, very, very clingy plastic thing off of the horse before the game. Only if they do that.
Oh my God. Wow.
But yeah, I think that the big thing that the Big Ten is doing right now is they're trying to compete with the SEC. And the SEC has quality, and when you add these middle of the road teams or low end of the road teams like the Washingtons and Washington States and Oregon, you're really not competing with the SEC in that way. Like you're not adding products that make the conference stronger. You're just adding more, regional nonsense.
I mean, because you look at what the SEC added. They added teams that are one, a brand, two, are usually good, and three, they're in football hotbeds. Okay.
I like this. I think Notre Dame would be a good fit in the MAC. What do you guys think?
My dad's not a big Notre Dame fan. He gets a lot of shit from Notre Dame fans at work. So, yeah, I think Mac would be a perfect fit in terms of talent-wise. So, good shout out there.
Yeah, awesome shout out. We'll put them in a school with Akron and Kent State, Toledo.
That's basically who they play anyway. I mean, they this is what they do. They make their own schedule. They line themselves up against cupcakes. Or they make games with big name schools that no longer are really that good. Mm-hmm. Like their run that they had with games against Michigan and games against USC when we were down. Mm-hmm. That's what Notre Dame does. They play easy opponents. And the other thing by staying independent, they don't got to worry about is this what if you don't win your conference controversy? At the end of the season, they don't have to worry about winning a conference championship game. And having that debate, do we put them in the playoff if they didn't win their conference, yada, yada, yada. They don't have to go through any of that. So I think that they're going to stay put as long as they can.
Yeah, I would agree with you. But I don't think we're done with teams jumping conferences and all that.
No.
My guess is Clemson is going to leave the ACC and join probably the SEC. I think Oregon.
Why the hell would they do that? Why would they do that?
Why would they do that?
They're the king of the ACC right now. They should stay where they're at. That's a death sentence.
There's no reason for them to leave. They stay in the terrible ACC. They win their conference every year. They get into the college football championship. Like, going to the SEC is dumb. That'd be a terrible decision.
Yeah, I think teams like Florida State and Clemson and Miami, like they should stay as far away from the SEC as they can.
Yeah.
I'm not suggesting that it would be the right move for them to do, but I think the ACC is crumbling right under their own feet, and Clemson's going to see that and be like, well, shit, we don't want to stick around here. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, no, we have to play lesser opponents. Who cares?
Yeah, who cares?
So they play even shittier teams? Like, the ACC sucks already. Like, so what? They have to play even worse teams? Like, oh, no, we're going to be undefeated every year. How terrible.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that Clemson's in a really great spot right now. Unless something happens like the ACC dissolving, like you say, Josh, which is very possible. It may not last. Then they may be forced to make a decision. But in terms of like what's right for them right now, like this is the perfect scenario for them, you know.
Oh yeah, I agree with you, but I think it's only a matter of time before the ACC dissolves. So I'm not suggesting that like tomorrow Clemson should jump ship and go to the SEC, but I think it feels like an inevitable thing that will happen eventually.
Yeah.
Basically.
They're the biggest name in the ACC right now, so it makes sense. Them or Florida State or Miami, you know, those are the three big names. Outside of
trying to put North Carolina into that mix too.
Yeah.
Now they can keep playing basketball in North Carolina.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think we're going to transition to Major League Baseball now. And Bryan and James, I have a task for you. I'm going to give you a mystery team's schedule for the remainder of July and the beginning of August. Okay?
Go ahead.
All right. Cool. You've got 2 guesses. Try and figure out which team it is. Cool? Okay. So let me pull them up.
This is great content.
All right. So they're finishing up a 3-game series against the Tampa Bay Rays right now. Over the weekend, they played the Yankees for 4. Then they played the Rays again for 4. And then at New York. All-Star break. 3 against Toronto. 4 against Cleveland. 3 against Milwaukee.
It's the Red Sox.
Yep.
You made it too easy. You said they're playing Tampa right now. Anybody who knows who Tampa played last night knows it's the Red Sox.
Good point.
You mentioned every other AL East team as well, so.
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe that was a miss. Well, oh well. But
hey, you gotta try something new every once in a while. So A for effort, buddy.
Yeah, A for effort, F on execution, though.
No, you have this fascination with the schedule that not many of us share with you.
Yeah.
That's part of the problem.
Anyway.
You probably have every schedule memorized, do you not?
No, not even close.
No.
Nope. But the reason I wanted to do that is the Red Sox are a really fascinating team right now. Like, you look at them, they're not a team you want to see in the playoffs. They have been getting hot at the right time. They just swept us recently. Granted, with how the Guardians are playing, I don't know if that says very much, but you look at the way the Red Sox are playing now, who wants to play them?
They're exactly who we kind of thought they would be, though. You know, we knew that they were going to be good. It's not any big surprise to me that they're in second place in the division right now. But I mean, the Yankees won the division. Let's be honest. Like everybody else in that division is competing for a wild card spot. But yeah, you're right. I mean, the Red Sox are hot right now. They're a team that not a lot of people want to play against. So it makes sense why you would pick them to be one of the teams to look at. Yeah. But they did lose last night, 8-4.
Yeah. But you think about it, like the debate is always going to be Devers or Ramirez, and so. But in addition to Devers, they've got Xander Bogaerts, they've got Trevor Story, JD Martinez, Nick Pivetta has been really good for them pitching wise. And Alex Cora, basically, except for his whole cheating thing, he's been the right manager for the job in Boston.
Yeah, I mean, they're a pretty loaded team. They've got weapons up and down that lineup, and they're right where they should be, really. Looking at they're 45 and 36. So yeah, I mean, they're right where they should be with the roster that they're putting out there every day. But in terms of the thing you've started with, Devers versus Ramirez, I mean, I think it's Ramirez by a long shot, in my opinion.
You think Ramirez by a long shot over Devers?
Yes.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, I
don't feel differently. Do you want to counter that with something, or
no?
I don't think that's even a little bit of a shocking statement. I think that's. I mean, find me someone who disagrees.
That doesn't live in Boston.
That doesn't live in Boston, exactly.
Right. So, are you basing that statement off of like the whole package? Because I think a lot of the people who are in Devers' camp for this argument are just looking at the offensive side of that. Like when you try to make an argument like this, you have to look at both offensive and the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, but he's not offensively better than Ramirez. Like maybe in one category, like his batting average is higher, but like I don't know other offensive parts of his game where I would say that he's better than Ramirez, outside of just batting for a better average, maybe. You look at Jose; he leads the American League in RBIs. He hits plenty of home runs. He usually steals 20 to 30 bases a year. I don't see anything offensively that Devers does that Ramirez doesn't do, outside of the fact that Devers has a really good batting average right now. But that's one stat,
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you do? Am I missing something here, James? Are you on the fence about it?
I'm pulling up numbers. Yeah. Hold on. Devers does have a better batting average right now. Let's see. They're tied for the AL lead in doubles. Devers has one more home run.
Okay.
I mean, I take Jose, even with Jose's little slump that he's been in. And by the way, his slump, he still has I think 21 hits in 27 games. And we're like, right. Oh my God, the world's ending.
And sustained success too. Like Jose's been doing it for a long time. Like Devers is just now getting to his peak. You know what I mean? Like Ramirez has been top 5 in MVP voting for the past 5 years. You know what I mean? So the year in, year out factor for me is also what gives me a little bit of an edge over him. So even in those few statistics that he does have a little bit of an edge over Jose this year, I don't think that's indicative of him being better in that category, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
He's playing as good as he can play right now. You know what I mean? Whereas Jose he does this year in and year out. So if Devers continues to play like he does, 2-3 years down the road, if he has the same numbers that he has right now, then it's a different conversation. But as of right now, I think like Jose he's really, planted his flag as the best overall third baseman in the American League.
I bet
it's all baseball. it's all of baseball, but I think a lot of this, what this comes down to is all-star voting, and this is just all-star voting is a complete sham anyways. But what you got to look at the fan bases of the teams, which one's larger? It's Boston. Then you got to look at the team pairings that a lot of these teams do to help boost each other's all-star votes. Yeah. Cleveland has the Rockies. The Red Sox have the Mets. Okay. Yeah. So those are two gigantic baseball fan bases compared to the Rockies and the Guardians. Okay.
And they're just pumping each other full of votes.
Yeah. They refer to it as the Met Sox. Okay. The Met Sox is quite the force when it comes to all-star voting, where Cleveland Rocks is not so much.
That's funny. Cleveland Rocks. That's good.
By the way, Cleveland is getting destroyed by the Tigers. It is 7-2 right now.
I'm so glad I'm not watching this game right now.
Yeah. We're not playing our best baseball right now, but we'll have that. It's a long season. That's why they play 162 of them.
Right. I bet you, with this whole Jose Ramirez, Rafael Devers discussion, if Ramirez was in a bigger market, he would be the front runner for the MVP right now.
Yeah, maybe. The other thing we're forgetting too is look at the help that Devers has down the lineup. You know what I mean? If Jose had a guy like a Trevor Story or batting behind him every night, Jose is going to put up even better numbers. So he's doing it without the lineup help. There's so much to be said about the guy who bats before you and the guy who bats after you, and how that affects what pitches you're going to see when you're up to bat, and your overall approach. And I think that if he was surrounded with some really great hitters like Devers is, I think that he would be doing even better than he's doing right now. So
because look at the hitters in the Boston lineup outside of Devers. It's Bogarts, it's Story, it's Martinez, Verdugo. Those are actual good hitters that you have to worry about.
Right.
The best hitters in the Guardians lineup. I love Josh Naylor, but he's not any of those guys.
No.
Franmil Reyes has been a complete disaster, even though he's been on an upswing lately. He's been atrocious all year long.
Yep.
Andres Jimenez, he's on his career's going upward, but he's not there yet.
Right.
Then
he's never going to be a big power guy either. He's not going to hit a ton of home runs. So
there's
nobody else. You're right. The other guys around him, like Owen Miller, he's good when he's hot, but he's on and off. Even a guy like Stephen Kwan, he's a rookie. You never know what you're going to get from the rookie. He's not surrounded by a lot of good bats, and that makes what Jose does in Cleveland even more impressive to me. So there's a lot of stuff that's not on the stat sheet that Devers has working in his favor.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Okay. So
he's good though. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying
right.
He's
right.
Devers is an incredible player.
Yeah.
Jose's better.
We're just giving Jose his flowers because a lot of people in Cleveland really don't appreciate how good of a baseball player that he is. And that's no fault of their own. If you don't know, you don't know. Yeah. But James and I, we are not homers. We'll be the first to be critical of our favorite teams. So when it's a guy like Jose, for us to go to bat and say no, he's the best, it's because we firmly believe that. You know what I mean? Yeah. He's that good. He's that good. He's a very, very special generational type talent.
Yeah. All right. So looking at some other topics, the Baltimore Orioles were the first team in history to allow a game-tying or go-ahead home run in the 7th, 8th, and 9th innings, and yet they still won.
I don't know if they pulled this off. The Orioles suck, and
they're the weirdest team in baseball right now. They're so weird. They're bad, but they're weird. They just stuff like this happens to them, and they win these games that they shouldn't win. And if you gamble on baseball, you don't bet games that the Orioles are involved in right now because it's just a crapshoot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, they have nice pieces in Baltimore. I like Cedric Mullins. Santander looks promising, but obviously they're not a contender, not even like a good team, but they have good pieces moving forward. I will give them that.
Yeah.
Adley Rutschman's a beast.
They might have good pieces moving forward. Who knows how long Adley Rutschman is going to take to actually get to where he needs to go.
Right.
He hasn't necessarily gotten off on the right foot. So far, he's looked a hell of a lot more like Matt Wieters than Buster Posey, and that's a problem.
Yeah.
Who knows how long Cedric Mullins is going to be there. Santander, he's fallen off a cliff. Okay. Like Trey Mancini, who knows if he's going to be there past the deadline or this year.
Yeah.
Right.
And can you name a single Orioles pitcher?
Ooh.
I can't.
No.
Not off top.
Calvin Ripken.
He wasn't a pitcher, and he no longer plays baseball.
That's the only guy I know from the Orioles.
Good. That's good, though. He
That's
did
good.
play for the Orioles. I will give you that.
He did play from the Orioles, yeah.
Yep.
Like the Orioles aren't good, but like
The Oreos?
The Orioles.
the O's, they're not good.
So we just changed their name from the Baltimore Orioles to the Baltimore Oreos. Got it.
I'm here for it.
I mean, if they score 10 runs in a game, does everyone get like a free sleeve of like 3 Oreo cookies?
I like it.
They got to pay either that or like maybe like a few ice cream bars, something.
Wait, not just that, James. Not only do they get a free sleeve of Oreos, they get a huge glass of milk to go along with it.
Baltimore too. They did that thing with their stadium too. They pushed the fences back too. Like, everything they do is just so weird. I don't know why that organization is just like they're an anomaly right now.
Yeah.
It's not good. It's not a good time to be a Baltimore Orioles fan.
No, they have one of the weirder logos. It's just a smiling bird head.
Okay, I love their logo.
I think that it's good too.
Because I remember when their logo was just O's and it was terrible.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah,
I like this little bird guy. I think he's cute.
Give me the cartoon logos. The cartoon logos are fun.
Yes,
it's a nice break from just the letters.
Yeah.
Yes,
I agree.
I agree. It's a huge upgrade over the stupid letters. Way too many teams are just like, nah, we're gonna be lazy and just give you a letter. I just find the Orioles logo kind of strange, but compared to a majority of the rest of the league, I love it.
But even the good players on their team, like you said, Santander he's on the decline. Like they don't have much to be excited about right now. And even Adley Rutschman, their most promising player, off to a very terrible start. He has put together a couple, good weeks of baseball here and there, but overall he hasn't. He's not ready yet. So it's still going to remain to be seen if he's going to be productive for them in the future or not. But
yeah. Looking around the rest of the league, Mad Max made his return for the Mets last night, and he's Max Scherzer. What else would you expect from him? Seriously.
Yeah, 11 Ks, season high 11 Ks for him.
Head and shoulders the best number 2 starter in all of baseball.
Yeah, I mean by miles. He looked like he didn't miss a beat at all. And then James, I like the numbers that you have here too. That the Mets did just fine without him in their lineup, going 25-14 before he went down and 25-16 while he was out. So they played just as good as they did with him without him. But like James said, he's the best number 2 starter in the league. Getting him back makes this team even better. Mm-hmm. The Mets are good. It's weird to say. The Mets are good. They're the real deal.
The Mets are good. Jacob deGrom's making his way back soon. Contrary to the takes of Frank the Tank, the Mets aren't crumbling. They're not collapsing.
No. I think that they're in a very good position, and expect them to be competing to win the National League for sure.
They're going to be a force. They're going to be a force.
Yeah.
Side note, Max Scherzer's career ERA at a Great American Ballpark, 0.27.
Oh boy,
Wow.
that's impressive.
That's insane.
It's insane.
Wow.
Especially in that ballpark, which is so hitter friendly. Like to not even have an ERA over 1. Like, come on.
How many appearances do we have that number?
I will get you that for 1 second. Hold on.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm just curious because I know it's got to be quite a few. He's played them several times.
He spent some time in the National League with the Nats, so I imagine he's made some trips there.
Right.
And he spent time in the National League with the Dodgers also. So obviously he's going to go into the Hall of Fame. No question about it.
Hall of Fame?
Yes.
Anyway,
fuck yeah.
If you had to guess, what team do you think he'll go in with? Washington?
I would say he doesn't go in with a team logo.
That's interesting.
No cap logo is what my guess is, because he was really good in Detroit. He is really good in Washington. He's had just a really good long career.
Yeah.
That I think he would go in no cap logo. Because I don't think he was in Washington long enough to go in with the curly W.
Yeah.
Right. And the outside of him winning a World Series this season and, maybe multiple, I agree that I don't think that like you can really define his career by one team. He's kind of been around for a while and went from team to team, and he's had great success no matter where he's went. So yeah, I don't think of like, as of now, if his career ended today, I don't think of him as just a Met or just a Nat or any of those teams. Really, he's just a guy that's been good for a really long time.
Yeah, I would agree with you. If I were forced to say like what team I think he would go in with, probably Detroit, because he's up to this point, that's where he spent the majority of his career. But I would agree with you and say no cap. No cap.
5 games, 33 innings, 4 wins. Just allowed, let's see, hold on, I just lost it.
That's insane.
15 hits, 1 run allowed.
What? He's only allowed 1 run.
53 strikeouts.
Good Lord.
What the fuck?
That's crazy. Yeah, but I think that this, like, Scherzer going out early in the year and the Mets maintaining, success without him was like it. This reminds me of like a little bit of with the Braves when, they had Acuna go down and then they showed that they could, put something together without him. Like, I think that this is going to do good for the Mets in the long run. You know what I mean? Like they've shown that they're more than just 1 or 2 pitchers. They're more than Jacob deGrom. They're more than Max Scherzer. Like, one of those 2 guys can go down and they can still be a good team. And I think that's more than Mets fans have been able to say for a while. So they're in a really good spot.
Yeah. Yeah, they're not going Mets on us.
Right. Not yet, at least. A lot of games left, but a lot of games left, but it doesn't look like it. None of the typical Mets shit that happens is, none of the writings on the wall for anything like that.
I mean, we don't got Brett Saberhagen shooting a super soaker full of bleach at reporters. We don't have a pitcher missing his game because he's at a house full of drugs.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have guys getting in car accidents. It's just none of the weird shit is happening.
Yeah, none of that weird shit is happening. They're just staying forward online and putting their heads down and winning games quite handily too.
Yeah, New York baseball is as good as it's ever been, man. Both of those teams are really good right now. Obviously, I want the Guardians to win every World Series ever, but I would be pretty excited to watch another Subway Series with the Yankees and the Mets, because that would just be so much fun.
Oh, I would totally be down for that. That would be so much fun.
Yeah.
Aaron Judge against Pete Alonso. That would be
There's so much star power in that series in general. Like it would be a matchup.
Think about that home run derby if we were to get that final for a second. Judge against Alonso. That would be fun, especially in LA.
Talking home run derby now.
Alonso's going to win because he's the best home run hitter in all of baseball. So Alonso.
No, I'm not asking who would win. Do you think that would be a fun matchup if we were to get Judge against Alonso?
Oh, yeah. If they go off into a little battle in the home run derby this year, a little preview of fall baseball, maybe. Yeah, that'd be cool.
Exactly.
That could be fun.
Yeah.
I just hate when all-star games are in places like LA. It's like you guys got everything.
Yeah, come on. I loved it when I was in Cleveland this year.
Yeah, give all-star games to the Midwestern teams and the teams that suck. Like don't give it to LA.
The NBA All-Star Game next year is going to be in Salt Lake City.
There you go.
Interesting.
I like that better than LA.
Could they do one in? They should do one in Toronto too.
They just did. They recently.
Oh yeah, they did a while back.
Yeah, Toronto's difficult too because of the traveling across the border issues and whatnot.
Or how about one in Samoa?
Samoa, American Samoa?
Yes,
We could.
might as well.
Might as well build a court in American Samoa. That's a long flight, sir. You know that, right? American Samoa is very far from here.
Well, shit. Cody Clemens just hit a home run, and it is now 8-2 Detroit.
Oh well.
Stick a fork in this series. Put it behind us. Fuck the Tigers.
Yeah.
Rough. But anyway, we have reached the natural end of things here. We made it to 4:00. Does anybody have any final thoughts before we separate ways for the week?
The Cavs, it was good. For the Browns, yeah, it was a good Cleveland week.
Bye-bye, Baker Mayfield. Don't flip over the carpet on the way out.
Yeah, adios, Baker. I'm so glad he's gone and we don't have to talk about him anymore. But that's all I got. Go Guardians. We'll get things back together.
I still will miss this Hollywood Higgins celebration.
You're the only one, Churk. You're the only one.
It was awesome when it happened.
End the stream.
Ending stream now.